change is okay. It's hard. There are going to be people that don't like it. Sometimes you're going to do things that, you might not like, but it's worth it. If you don't want to grow, then you don't really need to change. But if you want to keep growing and you want to push yourself, change is just going to have to happen.
Hello, and welcome to the Connect podcast, a podcast by the Holdrege Area Chamber of Commerce. Today's episode, I'm really excited to hop in today. As people know, we announced a new board president, and she's not new to the board, but she's new to being board president. So I'm really excited to chat with Kimberly Hines today. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am great.
Good.
I'm actually really excited to ask you some questions. Since I've started, you've been on the board. And so it's fun to be able to, jump in and see all the moving parts in the community. And you're really involved in the community. You wear a lot of hats here. So do you want to explain a little bit of what you do in the community?
Yeah, sure. Currently being president of the board of directors, also CFO of Lost Way Brewery here in town, and Senior Financial Analyst at embecta, and then also a mom of 4 girls.
So what drives you to take on so many of those roles?
Some days it's really overwhelming, and I ask myself that same question all the time. But even though it's overwhelming, it's also really rewarding. Being involved in the community, showing my girls that, you can do what you want to do if you put your mind to it and keep going, and you're going to have those rough days. But it's just so fun getting to know everybody and all of that. Yeah. Yeah,
that's really important. You're not originally from the community here, are you? So Where did you come from?
I came from Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, the mitten. Yes, I came from Michigan. We got here April of 2014. I grew up in what you would call a suburb of Detroit. So it was a bigger city. Yes, but not like Detroit city-wise. Sure. So we moved here because my husband was looking for a job, and we just had our first child. And so we were looking for something that had, insurance like on day one. And he got a position at BD. Yeah. So that's what brought us here. And I remember him telling me where we were moving, and I'm like, where the heck is Nebraska? Yeah. Like, what am I doing? I thought I was going to live in Michigan my whole life, but it's becoming a dream come true. So
that's amazing. Tell me the story of Lost Way.
Well, before we moved to Michigan, my brother and sister-in-law, who we're co-owners with, Mark and Jessica, they were trying to dabble in a couple things and trying to make wine. That was a horrible. I'm glad they switched to beer. But they just kind of started working on it. And then when my brother moved, he got really into it, getting the whole full grain set up at his house for just home brewing. And as soon as we moved here, my husband was just like, I'm going to try that. Mm-hmm. It gets cheaper that way. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. We just did that. And then when Mark and Jessica ended up moving here, because they wanted to get out of California where they were, they just kind of decided to start homebrewing. And then one night, we were all just drinking our homebrew in my basement, and we were like, we should start a business. And literally, it just took off from there. Amazing. Like drinking beer. Yeah, no, let's start a business. So
let's be honest. I think a lot of businesses start over a few beers. So that's awesome. Yeah. What's your favorite part about being involved with the Lost Way?
I just think meeting the community, it's just so much fun. And I remember opening day when we just had so many people saying, what do you got? What's the closest thing you got to Busch Light? And those people come in today drinking stouts and IPAs. And it's just seeing that growth and that change is just so great.
Yeah, one interesting thing is I had the chance to chat with Betty Sayers, and her story of the honey and the mustard is just so fun. But the fact that the two organizations were able to literally come up with a homemade, it's just so cool. Yes. The story of the mustard is so cool.
Our Yield Creamery is in her mustard.
Oh, I love it.
Delish.
You've been involved with the chamber for a while. You were treasurer before the board president, and now you're stepping up as board president. What excites you most about that, do you think?
I think, moving here to Nebraska was like a huge change for me. And since then, I think every year there's some kind of huge change, right? And just that growth that comes with that change is something that I just love to see. And it's exciting to be a part of the organization is for the chamber and just see it grow. I started a little after COVID, and it was, it wasn't the organization, it was all over the place. And I mean, with Lori coming in, it just keeps growing and it just keeps changing. And it's just awesome to see. And I'm excited to see the next year and how it unfolds and everything.
Yes. And there's, so many fun things that are unraveling. What do you think is your favorite initiative or project? What are you looking most forward to as far as what the chamber has coming in the next year or so?
I think one of the big things that we're really hoping on rolling out is the memberships and letting the community know what we're going to be providing them. Because I know it's been a lot of questions lately in a lot of our businesses' minds, like what does the chamber provide? And this is really going to help let them know that, yes, we're doing things for the community that I may not see right now. And then we're going to have this tiered membership that's just going to give them the ability to choose and pick what they want the chamber to do for them, on top of so many other things that may not affect them directly, but it's affecting our community.
Yes. No, that's so important.
Yes.
No. So you've got your small business with the Lost Way Brewery. And then you said you're the Senior Financial Analyst for embecta. From the small business to corporate finance, what do you think is the biggest opportunity for businesses in Holdrege right now?
To not think that you can't grow. I think sometimes big corporate businesses are scary, and I mean they are. There's just so much going on with them. You don't know where you really land in the corporate world. You might not want to be as big as a corporate, a business, but there's always room for that growth, for the changes, and just making sure that you're taking your business where you want to take it.
One thing we talk a lot about on the Connect podcast is community support. What do you think that the community can do to help the businesses here in Holdrege thrive?
I would say just to keep supporting them, like keep walking in that door. They always say, support local first, and I 100% agree with that. Like we try our best to, especially like for Holdrege for the holidays, constantly going to like businesses around town. And sometimes you got to go to the bigger city, but as long as you can try and support your locals first, it really, really makes a difference.
It really does.
Yes.
One thing that I'm excited for, I meant to say this earlier, but one thing I'm excited for here at the chamber is that the Spark gift card. I think that's a perfect opportunity. And I've even started with my kids get a small allowance. And I was like, I'll just give them a Spark gift card. One, there's something special about 10 and 11-year-olds swiping a card. They love that. But also every swipe is literally just supporting the businesses here. If you had to describe Holdrege in 3 words, what do you think they would be?
I'll start with community.
Oh, that's
great. Life.
Oh, yes.
Just because there's just so much going on, so much life, so much like adventure.
Oh, that's great.
It really is.
That's perfect.
Yes, every day. I mean, in my life, every day is definitely an adventure. So yes, I would say that community, life, and adventure.
You mentioned a couple of drinks from the Lost Way earlier.
Yes.
What's your number one go-to drink? People are going to be like,
I know, right? This is so hard. So I can't give you one.
Okay. No, that's
I'll
great.
give you one beer, and I'll give you the seltzer that I love.
Great.
So the beer is the Hot and Hazy IPA, which is crazy. I hate IPAs. Okay, my husband would just kill me for saying this, but he knows it. I don't like them, but the Hot and Hazy is just so good. My seltzer is any of our slushies with nerds.
Oh, I'm so glad you said the with nerds.
It has to have the nerds.
Lori is the one that said you have to ask for it, and now that's all I get when I go there. It's so good.
Yeah, it was the Swedish days with
Swedish fish.
Yeah, yes. So we designed a drink just for that with our slushies, and we added nerds, and it was just a huge hit. And everyone's like, "You got to keep the nerds. You got to keep the nerds." So straight up, we have a big old container of nerds in the back. So
yeah, if you weren't doing finance and you weren't doing the brewing, what do you think you'd be doing?
I think I would have gone into law enforcement.
Wow.
Yeah, different,
That's interesting.
right?
I love that.
So I actually when I went to college, the university I went to was Grand Valley State, and they had a really good law school for law enforcement, and I really wanted to do that, and that's when I kind of took my first business/accounting courses, and I was like, I've always loved numbers, so I ended up going that route instead, but one of my dreams was to be in the FBI, so
That's amazing.
I know, it's crazy.
She wouldn't tell you if she was.
No,
So
no, I wouldn't. No.
who knows?
I don't think I could do all of that.
Yeah.
It'd be an adventure.
I like to end every episode with just one piece of advice. And a lot of times that's business advice, but it doesn't have to be. It can be personal advice. So what do you think, if you could give one piece of advice to the listeners today, what do you think that would be?
I think, you know, in this time, in this world, change is okay. It's hard. There are going to be people that don't like it. Like, for example, for me, moving from Michigan to Nebraska, that's a huge change, but I wouldn't ask for anything else right now, you know? So, and especially in businesses, sometimes you're going to do things that, you know, you might not like, but it's worth it. Like, I've had that conversation with my brother, who's the CEO of Lost Way, and I tell him I don't like that change, and he's like, well, too bad. So we do it, and it ends up, he's right. So, you know, change is hard, but it's worth it in the end. You know, you're not gonna, if you don't want to grow, then you don't really need to change. But if you want to keep growing and you want to push yourself, change is just gonna have to happen.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much.
You're so welcome, Adam.